Hey guys, Thomas Jr. here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie Nope. And if you end up enjoying this full review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition to help smaller YouTubers. Second and third will help send you over to my Patreon/PayPal, which will help support me and my channel. And fourth will head you over to my Discord server where you can communicate with other YouTubers and stuff like that. So it's all good. And chilling will be recalled at the end of the review. And with that out of the way, let's get into Nope. So of course, this is another Jordan Peele movie after Us. This is the third, attempt at the horror/comedy stylings of Jordan Peele, and I will give my quick take on Us. As I recall, giving it a more light-hearted review back in the day. I think I would have been, now that I'm a bit more critically keen on picking up on things from that point, I will reevaluate and say that obviously the heavy themes and obvious themes that are pulled from Us are pretty obvious and stand out, and that all that stuff is fine and good, and I like when, you can have stuff in the background to represent other stuff, and there are clues and hints and all this, representative stuff that is, indicated, what you're trying to go for in a movie. But there's still the execution of Us, and in that movie there were still a lot of other questions that, again, the execution of the movie just, it left a lot more questions, piling up, rather than answering them. And I think that is the case of, that is a movie, Us, that it took its themes and it put it above its story. And, that there is a potential consequence to doing things like that, and I think that really does show in the movie Us, to a sense, when you start to look at it more critically. So, that's where I would put it in terms of my thoughts on Us, or reevaluating Us as the movie. So, this is my more critical look at Nope. I'm obviously here to be as objective as possible. And the movie opens up with one of those texts that some famous or rather person said sometime rather ago. It mentions the word spectacle at the end of the movie, and they use the word spectacle about 2 more times in the movie, and I think that's a bit more, I'll say it, a bit more on the nose than Us. It feels like the writing of this, when it was coming together, I'm assuming what happened is maybe Jordan Peele might have received some criticism about how obscure some of Us stuff was, and maybe he wanted to make it a bit more on the nose, and so they just have the characters say the word spectacle here and there in the movie, and it's like, I think you took the criticism and you went the completely opposite direction. You have to, unfortunately, what you ought to have done is found some better middle ground to work with there, other than, start with your characters first, and that's something I will also address in this movie, and, have this, maintain that sort of thematic, deepness of, stuff is hidden just enough, but, you can still make it out and all that good stuff. So, put the good stuff together and cut out the bad material, and not, do the complete opposite of what you should do, which is, in this case again, make it so that everything is super obvious from the get-go, what you're trying to achieve here. Anyways, so we cut to some brief footage of a girl being knocked out, or at least that's what it looks like from the angle we're seeing it from. Then we cut to some horses being used. and we're seeing this man on this horse for the like TV shoot or something, like a commercial. We meet our main character OJ and his sister Elle as they work at this western like area, and their father passed away, or was taken out. We see him being taken out from the sky, something from the sky, but it wasn't really clear to the characters anyway what happened. So they are met with, after their little TV shoot, they go to this like western like little park area where they meet Stephen Yeun's character, whose name I don't even know his name in the movie. I don't think they actually say his character's name in the movie once. And I'm gonna say this now, I feel like Stephen Yeun's character is heavily underutilized in this movie. It's actually quite I feel like this is Stephen Yeun's first setback in his acclaimed roles so far, so it is unfortunate, because I do think that Stephen Yeun is quite the actor. Anyways, he shows them to this secret room where he shows off this monkey that went nuts during the shoot, and he also, again, he mentioned how it was a spectacle. Keep that word in mind, folks. So they head over to this small house, just Elle and OJ. And the movie does these more super short cuts of like these flashback moments to like when a character might say something. One of their horses, Ghost, runs off as Elle blasts her music. And the power turns off briefly for a moment, and they begin to review the footage as they're getting a lot more suspicious now of like what's going on out there. And they're leaning outside the porch for trying to figure out what's going on. So they already talk about how they want money for this UFO, and they want to be the first to capture the spectacle for the money before others can come in and do what they do, as OJ puts it. So Elle gets out of the way when they hire in, or they get this installer dude who like sets up their cameras and all of this stuff. And he mentions how they changed the name of UFO to UAP, which I'm actually not entirely sure what that acronym stands for, but whatever. Anyways, so Stephen Yeun's character gives them a little invite to a show. We see that they put up a little decoy horse so that they can see if they can get the UFO to like suck it up. So OJ heads over to this light source, and when he turns off the power and it comes back on shortly after, he sees these two figures like sneaking around, and this third comes out, and he's spooked. This is the first time he literally says nope in the movie, so roll credits, that meme, whatever. But it was a prank that these three kids were pulling, and the tech guy gets fake spooked by one of the other humans in the shop when we cut back to him. But one of the cameras goes down, and we see Ghost, the horse, continuing to run away further and further. OJ starts to, as we cut back to him, run when he spots when Elle points out the movement in the clouds, and Elle goes up to the camera to try to fix that situation. So she wants to leave at this point, and he says that he has a job to do to maintain the horses and stuff like that, and that goats her back into staying. We get another quick flashback of, like, the untrained ghost. So not really much else to offer other than, okay, that's a moment that the flashbacked to. They're trying to get this other older guy to, like, come help them, so she's like, hey, we want to make this documentary about this thing, and he's like, I'm not interested right now anyways. But after we come back, we see that the installer guy comes back and shows them the unmoving cloud, which is what they begin to suspect is where the UFO is currently residing. After this, we get the weirdest of flashbacks, where we see a little bit more of what was happening in the beginning. The attack of this monkey going nuts when a balloon popped in the 1998s, and it shows the monkey killing this woman, and then the father character, and we see this from young Steven Yeun's character's perspective. And I say weird because it's developing his character, but in terms of relating it to the whole alien thing, it feels extremely disconnected. Like, this is like the most disconnected thing in between things I think I've seen in quite a while, so I think this is another case of, like, the spectacle of watching someone, putting the theme over characters is kind of where I'm leaning towards what they were trying to do here, and it still doesn't really come across that strongly, even in the flashback. I feel that is the case here. So, Steven Yeun's character is joined by his wife, I guess, after the fact, when we come back to the present. And we cut to Lucky as he puts on this little show where he has this little crowd, and he mentions how, once again, spectacle, third time actually saying it anyways, that he actually already knows that the UFO is somewhere out there, and that at a certain time that it would make movement and would surprise and help bolster his business or whatever. And he mentions the saucer, but as they are prepping to start the show, it appears to start early, according to him, as the creature, or the UFO, I should say, currently, creates this sort of whirlwind effect and starts to swarm everyone within the area. And yeah, that is the end of Steven Yeun's character at that point, after his little show. So, again, I feel underutilized, if anything. It is really bizarre. And, all the other people die, I guess, since we see that later on. So OJ, heads to the city, which is now more empty. We see him heading towards the area where this event just occurred, and we see the ship dive down super low, and we begin to see the installer guy heading out, and L and the installer guy get stuck inside the house as this UFO begins to spew out blood of all of its victims that it just claimed. So OJ stays put in the car while this is going down, as the ship is now right above him. And they try to, the other two try to get to him. And as he's looking down, he notes that this thing seems to pass by him. So, we can see a cameraman on a bike start to move in, and the three of them, plus the old guy, he comes to assist at this point. I think I neglected to put that in my notes, but anyway. They head out to talk more about the monster, as they are putting together that it's not behaving like a UFO, it's behaving more like an animal. So like a flying animal. So they get the old man in on the job, and they begin to plan how to capture it on camera. And they give it a name called Jean Jacket. Not sure why that name, but okay. So he begins heading out on his horse to be the distraction. But the biker guy that's riding through is trying to record as well, as the suspicion of this whole thing is spreading a little bit further past, so he's trying to get some of his own footage. And as he's riding through, his bike turns off due to the pulses that turn off every other electronic device, so he gets all screwed up. And the creature absorbs him, then gives chase, and again OJ avoids it by looking down once more. And like an idiot, we cut to the old man who heads outside and starts recording it. I don't know. It's just so stupid. It's just, yeah. And then he's dead. So, anyway. The creature spins out into doing that tornado trick again. The filmer guy, or the installer guy, I should say, almost gets sucked in, but he's saved by this tarp thing that's surrounding him. Meanwhile, the two siblings get separated on each side of the ship. So she gets to the motorcycle, which is still currently off, and he's on his horse. So they're both trying to pull it in each direction. And he pulls it far enough so the motorcycle can turn back on, so she can start actually moving in a direction. So she stops by the town and starts unhooking these things that hold up this blimp toy thing up toward it, as well as getting this camera that's installed in the swell. So they send the thing up, the creature absorbs the thing, she gets the money shot, as she keeps referring to it, or as the Oprah shot, I guess is what they refer to it as well. And then the large object is so big that I guess it blows up, ? That's what it looks like anyways. So not only did they end the movie with getting the perfect picture, but they also end up destroying the creature in the process. And that was Nope. So yeah, I will say, I feel again, this is a consequence of taking, the approach of Us and then going, overcompensating in the opposite direction, make everything super obvious. This is a spectacle. It's like, yeah, but you could still work on your characters a little bit here. As far as I know, the backstories of the characters is that OJ is like this sort of introverted, like, commercial horse trainer. That's about as much as I can say about his character. The sister is like the more, outgoing character. That, like, wants less to do with this, but sticks around anyways. And, again, Steven Yeun has the flashback that's irrelevant to the alien stuff, but I guess it's part of the spectacle, so they left it in. So yeah, I feel like this overcompensated in the wrong direction a bit too heavily, and as a consequence, I feel like it just isn't, it kind of is in the same vein as where Us ends up being to me, which is a slightly more flawed film. And I will say, like, I'm not sure, like, what parts are supposed to be meant to be more comedy at this point. It feels like the writing is getting a little bit more, like, stale in that regard. And I think it is in part of the lack of character here, maybe. That might go hand in hand with the lack of comedy. I'm not sure. If there were other jokes that were meant to be funny or, like, make mock, other alien-based movies, like, I really can't point to any particular scene or moment in this entire movie. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if this was trying to even be a comedy at all. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, so but that still maintains the problem of, well, if it's just a horror movie, then it falls into the same trap of, of every other horror, or most current horror movies, which is the thing I consistently have been complaining about horror movies, especially a lot more current ones, is that you gotta make sure your characters are strongly written, because otherwise you're not gonna care when they die. And, for what it's worth, they at least gave Steven Yeun a backstory. Like, that is something. That is a step in the right direction. I would have just preferred if the backstory was a little bit more in line with the rest of the movie. That's like the only improvement I would make to his actual backstory to, make it fit like a glove. Other than that, I would say the other two characters just aren't that well defined enough to stand out, while also not being in the completely opposite end of, like, well, I don't want them to die. It's not like they're annoying characters, which is actually what a lot of horror movies tend to typically do. So it's not on one end of the spectrum where, like, they're terribly, written and you're rooting for the monster, but they're not terribly, or they're not well written enough to be like, oh man, I really miss that character, I really was fearing for that character's life. Maybe, again, attaching that fear that may be hard to establish to the character rather than, other elements. And again, that is a shame because Steven Yeun comes from what I would consistently argue is probably one of the best horror deaths in history. Without question, of him getting killed by Negan. Like, come on, you could have done a little bit better for him, I feel like, if he was gonna go out. So yeah, definitely, would probably either go with a 5 or a 6 for this movie. and I'm leaning towards a little bit closer to a 5 again. So, it's a 8 movie. It's like not great. It's not terrible, I guess. So, you know, I hope that the direction or criticisms that will hopefully be there present, and if, you know, Jordan Peele is someone who is a director who actually listens to criticisms, hopefully he can find that happy medium of character development and theme. Two important elements, no doubt, but you have to achieve, you know, the second one first, I feel like, out of the two, you know, because characters are like building blocks of like any story that you're going to tell, or most stories you're going to tell anyways. So yeah, a bit of a 5 out of 10 here. So a bit of a meh movie. And that's my full review of Nope. So if you ended up enjoying this full review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my Discord server, the second to my Patreon page, third to my PayPal, and fourth to my Discord server. Any donations are greatly appreciated and help support me and the channel. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.